I just wanted to raise a question. What do you think of Sarah Palin as president? Hello? Anybody hear me?
Welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy Lemire. This is Ben Mankiewicz. This is the lovely Gray Drake, who's going to hang out while we talk about Sarah Palin. You betcha.
You betcha.
This is not the Happy Fun Time Love Fest documentary about Sarah Palin. This is the Nick Broomfield one. So it's a little different.
Yeah,
Explain it to us.
Yeah, well, Nick Broomfield, who's made some interesting films, goes to Wasilla to try to track down Sarah Palin. The thread of the movie, which that seems a little bit forced, is his search for an interview with Sarah Palin.
A quest for the real Sarah Palin.
A quest for the real
Good
Sarah
luck.
Palin.
Welcome to Alaska. Have you heard of Sarah Palin?
I certainly have. What about $500?
The last interview got $20,000.
Frank!
Can I interview you?
Well, I'll bet you I can do that.
She believes that she is God's anointed one.
In the name of Jesus, every form of witchcraft.
Hello. How do you do?
Did we see this coming? No, not at all.
Without my family's support, I couldn't do this.
Out in the public eye, she's this great mother. Behind closed doors, she's yelling at them. I raised the kids for 4 years.
Do you think a lot of townspeople are frightened of talking?
Oh, absolutely. Very afraid of her.
She'd kill you like that.
Why I like this movie is because I know a lot about Sarah Palin, and yet there were man, at the end there's that scene where she's got the boots and she's walking out on stage in Oklahoma City. Oh, be still my heart. Look, I know a lot about her, and but there were still plenty that I learned here. That I
Did you?
Yeah,
Really? Because this does
plenty that I
not
did.
tell us anything we did not already know about her.
I disagree. Well, that's sort of true, except that nobody knows everything. Like, I mean, then you're right, for the 128 people who were totally well versed on the Sarah Palin
And
history.
they all live in Wasilla.
Right, they're going to think, oh man, it's all, yeah, he didn't, there's no breaking story here, but it puts everything together, because this is a really important American sort of historical political figure now. Somebody, I mean, I think less important than perhaps the mainstream media gives her credit for.
For better or for worse.
But here it pulls everything together at once. So you can see the sort of growth from being in high school and what she was like then, and really the bulk of the movie is her beginning of her political career when she runs for mayor in the city council and then becomes mayor of Wasilla. And as you tie that all again and keep it on the sort of arc that ultimately leads to getting the vice presidential nomination in 2008, I think that part of it tells a pretty compelling story.
It synthesizes everything. At the same time, it will not change anybody's mind. I mean, if you thought that she was inept and vapid and all about surface and had no substance to her, you will walk out believing that. And conversely, if you loved her and if you think that she's been a target and she's like this mavericky breath of fresh air that the country needs, you'll think that too. Actually, this will fortify people who support her, because Nick Broomfield approaches it with such jokey condescension.
Yes.
And it has a lot of like that Michael Moore, Roger and Me tone to it, where clearly he's never ever going to get this interview, but he increasingly makes fun of the process of chasing her.
I didn't like the parts where he seemed particularly condescending. I do think it'll change people's minds. Will it change diehard Sarah Palin support? No, but that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
If Sarah Palin's ever going to go further in this country, and I don't think she is, but if she's ever going to go further politically in this country, then she's got to win over people who haven't totally made up their mind, and there are plenty of people who might think, oh, the media, they're too tough on Sarah Palin.
The lamestream media.
They may think the lamestream media is too tough on Sarah Palin. I think people who haven't made up their mind would see a movie like this and think, this is not a serious person. This person is crazy. And what's most interesting is what really comes out here is that this person is truly, truly petty and vindictive. And that comes out, and I don't think everybody knows that.
There have been reports, wasn't there was it a Vanity Fair piece? There was some big article about the flying monkeys and the vindictiveness of her minions and,
no question.
and the spiteful.
It's out there, but here it is synthesized,
grudges.
and here you've got interesting people talking about it in one film, making this sort of overall point. If we continue, and especially in politics, to simply not repeat stuff because we think it's been said once before, nobody learns anything. Nobody knows anything. Nobody read the Vanity Fair piece. It's a magazine.
I don't think they read it on their iPad or whatever. No, but I think people who maybe have a cursory knowledge of Sarah Palin or just the name know that the name alone is synonymous with the punchline, and they're going to already know that she's vapid or believe that.
But she's not.
So me.
But she's not. But she's vapid in the sense that she doesn't understand important parts to the world and how the world works and how government. What comes out here though is that she doesn't like government. She's not interested in it. Right. And if you ever crossed her one time, she'll go get you. And some of the most compelling stuff was from the pastor who didn't so much.
That was interesting.
And he talked to his big fear is that Sarah Palin in the White House with her hand on the nuclear on the button.
Oh, God.
Because she would be angry and that she would be. But
and
forget,
because she feels like she's the anointed one and that God is guiding her in that direction. That's what's truly scary.
Right, so
That's what's so scary about
so
that.
you've got somebody who's positive that they're right and can't be pushed off that belief that they're right. And then forget the extreme of nuclear annihilation. That he said that she would easily use violence to crush an enemy because the enemy is therefore evil.
Right. And it's very
because
black
she's
and
good.
white to her.
Right. So she's like, no, of course we're going to go into. Why wouldn't we go into Libya?
There's no compromise.
They're our enemy. Of course we'll go in. There's no, and I should never feel bad about that or worry or think about it.
The only other possible revelation we have here is the trooper from Troopergate, Mike Wooten.
He spoke for the
Sarah
first time.
Palin's former brother-in-law, who she reportedly
Reportedly.
coerced the police commissioner into trying to get him fired.
She did it. She tried to get him fired, then she fired the police commissioner who wouldn't fire him.
Right, the guy is still a state trooper. But he finally sits down for the first time and talks about life in the Palin house and how she would shoot her kids away to go play in the backyard, how she comes off as this loving, hardworking mom, juggling career and family, when in actuality, she shoos the kids away to go be on her BlackBerry, and he says that he was the one who actually raised the kids.
Yeah.
That makes me like her more.
She's multitasking, right?
We'll give numbers.
Yeah.
What I didn't like was the vlogger who suggests that she's had plastic surgery because it seemed. How does he know what he's observing? Nobody talked to a doctor. Nobody.
The photos do look different.
And then I didn't like any time he mentioned the National Enquirer and the sort of allegations that they've had about the stability of their marriage, because it just made it seem cheap and tawdry, and it was not necessary.
It's just floating a rumor.
It was just floating. It was just you were just repeating a rumor.
Yeah.
I want the number of her surgeon, if that's true, because she doesn't. It's
And she looks
Side
great
note.
in boots. Number
4.6.
Yeah, I gave it a 6.5. I think it synthesizes everything, and I think there's some compelling moments made, and some talk to people who I hadn't heard from, and I read a lot about Sarah Palin. So 5.5 overall, a tepid recommendation for Sarah Palin.
Wah, wah.
What's it called?
Sarah Palin, you betcha.
Sarah Palin, you betcha. But come on, go see it. Don't listen to Kristen.
Bye.